Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We got a good one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be going over all of our Week 12 NFL games. We're going to completely break down these matchups, look at the rosters, and try to predict the outcome for every single game. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score will be. We'll also touch on that best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, please drop them below, and I will respond. Every week we go over every single NFL game in depth, and we also do the same thing for every college football game as well. The top 25 ones, the non-top 25, and we always break down the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe so you can follow along with us. So let's go ahead and get started. We have, I think, 13 NFL games coming up for this weekend. Our very first one, we have our prime video game on Thursday, November 21st at 8:15 p.m. We have the 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. And what a season Mike Tomlin's team is having here. They are dominating on defense, coming off of a win versus the Baltimore Ravens, where they dominated that game on both lines of scrimmage. Right now, they'll be playing the 2-8 Cleveland Browns. And the Steelers have a 54.2% chance to win this game. They are 5-point favorites here. The over-under is 40.5. The Steelers, this is Mike Tomlin's team. They play special teams. They run the ball. They play great elite-level playoff defense. They're averaging 23.3 points a game. They're throwing for 187.3. They're running for 136.7. But it's that defense only giving up 16.2 points per game. They're dominating at the line of scrimmage. TJ Watt and company, they're getting a lot of pressure. Obviously, for the Browns, their biggest issue is just getting first downs. They lost Deshaun Watson for the season, but that's not really that big of a loss. Jameis Winston stepped in. He's doing just fine, but they're still struggling to punch the ball in, especially in the red zone. Their defense, they have a top 10 defense roster-wise that has not translated statistically on the field. And the main reason to that is due to the offense. The defense is on the field the entire game. Right now, the Steelers are going to be led by Russell Wilson. He's closing in on 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. Even though the Steelers' defense is elite, we need to see more out of the offense, especially in the red zone. Russell Wilson, he's playing fine, but there's going to come a time where you need him to make the big plays, when you need him to score in bunches. Is he capable of doing that? And for the Browns, they have Winston closing in on 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. The Browns are averaging 16.2. They're throwing for 202.8. They're running for 88.5. That defense is giving up 24.8 points a game. And that Steelers defense only giving up 16.2. They have Harris. They have Pickens for those third and long situations. Expect a steady dose of Harris running downhill. Let the defense control the game. I have the Steelers winning this one handedly, winning it 24-14. And now moving on to our Sunday slate of games on Fox at 1 p.m. The 8-2 Minnesota Vikings. What a season they're having. They have J.J. McCarthy go down. Sam Darnold has stepped in. He's having a great season so far. Not passing the best in the last 2 to 3 games, but overall having a great year. They'll be playing the 4-6 Chicago Bears. Basically, since the Bears lost that Hail Mary pass to lose the game, their offense has completely fallen off the rails. They have to get the offense going. They have to get the run game going. They have to open up the play action. They need their offensive line to play better. They're allowing too much pressure on Caleb Williams. He already holds the ball too long, and obviously he's not able to push the ball to his playmakers. Right now, the Vikings come in 59% chance to win this game. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under here is going to be 39.5. Vegas doesn't have this being the highest scoring game. The Vikings offense hasn't been lighting it up like they were doing to start the season, but still, overall, great numbers. They're putting up 24.4 points a game, throwing for 224.6, running for 116.4. It's that defense only giving up 17 points a game. They still have a top 10 defense. They only allow 74.4 rushing yards per game. That is top 2 in the NFL. They're going to shut down the Bears' rushing attack, put all that pressure on the passing game, put all that pressure on Caleb Williams. They're going to pin their ears back. They're going to be coming after him the whole game. They have Sam Darnold closing in on 2,400 yards, 20 touchdowns. They have Jones. They have Justin Jefferson when he's healthy, a top 3 wide receiver, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. And for the Bears, Caleb Williams has been getting hit a lot. He's been banged up the last few games. They come in here, they're averaging 19.4, throwing for 173.8, running for 115.2. But they do have a good defense, only giving up 18.7 points a game, which is actually pretty good considering the fact that their offense just averages less than 1 point more than that. So a lot of pressure is consistently put onto this defense. Every single game, they have to perform. If they don't, this team is going to get blown out. But at some point, you know the Bears are due for an offensive explosion. I kind of flip-flop on this game. I went back and forth. I had the Bears winning it because they're due for an upset win. They have Williams, Swift, Odunze, Moore, Carr, Allen. They have veterans, a good wide receiver core. But I'm going to go with the Vikings just squeaking this one out, winning it 20-17. But this is one of those games you have to watch because to me, it's going to be close. And I do see a world where the Bears win. This next game, there's not really much to say here. At 1 p.m. on Fox, the 9-1 Detroit Lions. Let's be honest, this is the best team in the NFL as of right now, Week 12. They'll be playing the 5-6 Colts. Right now, the Lions have a 73.4% chance to win this game. 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 50.5. We had the Lions winning handedly this past weekend. They definitely won handedly. This offense is cruising, the number one offense in the NFL. They have a top 5 defense, one of the deepest offensive rosters. They lost their best defensive player. Their defense has not missed a beat at all. Right now, Goff's closing in on 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns. He does have a lot more picks this season, but when he's on, he's 2023 Goff. Right now, they're averaging 33.6, which is number one by a long shot. It's not even close. They throw for 242.5. They're running for 152.7. They're only giving up 17.7 points a game, only 94.8 on the ground. Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown had a massive game this past weekend. So many weapons, so many ways they can beat you. Defense, running the ball, passing the ball. Colts, their offense looked much better with Anthony Richardson this past weekend. I've been very hard on him. He did have a great game. You can't take that away from them. He was able to push the ball down the field. He was able to run the ball. Flacco does open up that vertical passing game, but they're no doubt going to be going with Richardson here. They're averaging 21.5, throwing for 202.2, running for 118.5, and that defense is giving up 22.7 points a game. This is not a bad team by any means. They have Richardson. They have Jonathan Taylor. The guy can run the ball. He can catch it out the backfield. They have Pierce. So they have that number one receiver. They don't have a bad defense. They don't have a bad offense. They're kind of average at every single position. But with that being said, when you're average, you can beat a good team if they have a bad game. That can definitely happen, but I have the Lions taking this one, winning it 34-20, and they continue to roll on both sides of the ball. And then at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 3-7 Dallas Cowboys versus the 7-4 Washington Commanders. Who would have known the Cowboys would have fallen off so steeply coming into this season? Their strengths used to be their run game, their offensive line, their defense. All three of those things are glaring major weaknesses right now. Right now, the Commanders have a 77% chance to win this game. 10.5-point favorites, a massive NFL spread. The over-under here is 45 points. This is the type of game that you have to watch, though. The spread is so big this season. There's been a lot of upsets. This is the type of game that Dallas actually finds a way to win. Obviously, this game is personal for Dan Quinn. He wants to beat his old team, the Cowboys. He knows the Cowboys offense. He knows the players. He knows their strengths, their weaknesses. But Dallas is obviously a completely depleted team. They're down Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb has too much pressure on his shoulders, and Dallas just cannot run the ball to save their life. They are going to be going with rush. They got beat down into the dirt this past weekend. I don't see how that doesn't happen this weekend. They didn't have a good defense before. It's statistically getting worse every week. Right now, Dallas comes in. They're averaging 18.7. They're throwing for 240.6, only running for 81.7 yards a game. One of the worst rush offenses in the NFL, giving up 29.3 points a game. A top 3 defense last season. Now they have the number 2 worst defense in the NFL. And then you have the Commanders who are lighting it up on offense. They're averaging 28 points a game, throwing for 218.7, running for 148, and they're only giving up 22.1 points a game. They have the playmakers, Daniels, Brian Robinson Jr., Terry, multiple ways they can beat you, and their defense is much improved over last season. But this is the type of game that Dallas wins. Dowdle, you're only going to get about 30 yards out of him. He's the leading rusher. CeeDee Lamb cannot completely carry this team on his back. I have Washington winning it. Continue to win. They win it 30-17. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs, they finally got their first loss this past weekend versus the Bills. We did pick the Bills to dominate that game. They'll be playing the 3-7 Carolina Panthers. Right now, the Chiefs have a 77.4% chance to win this game. 11-point favorites, another massive NFL spread. The over-under here is 42.5. The Chiefs, we know who the Chiefs are. They are the defending Super Bowl champs right now. They know how to play like it. Their offense, this is the worst offense they've had since Patrick Mahomes has been there. However, do not sleep on that. This is an offense that's capable of a lot. They just haven't had to get into those shootout type games. We know if it comes down to it, Patrick Mahomes can lead this team right down the field. They've been pretty banged up. Pacheco, Rice. Pacheco will be back this weekend. Pair him with Kareem Hunt. That's a great 1-2 punch. They have Kelsey. They have Worthy. They have multiple weapons there. They just need to get everyone healthy. And when they are, you definitely want to watch out for this team. But it's that defense. That defense is the top 5 defense, top 5 in pressures, top 5 in sacks, top 5 in turnovers. The Chiefs live off the turnover, getting the short field, being able to punch it in here. Does their defense continue to wreak havoc? Definitely. Obviously, they are playing the Panthers. The Panthers might be the worst team in the NFL, or at least bottom 3 easily. Right now, they're only averaging 16.7. They're throwing for 170.7. They're running for 110. They're giving up 31 points a game. That's awful. It's just behind the Dallas Cowboys defense. They give up 31 points a game. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to be able to get that offense on track this game. They have Mahomes, Pacheco, Hunt, Kelsey. They have all the weapons they need with that defense versus the Panthers, who are probably going to be rolling with Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, though, having a great season. He's basically their player X, their primary weapon. You know they're going to run, and yet he still continues to get his yards. Props to them. I have the Chiefs rolling here, getting back in the win column, winning this one easily, 28-13. And then at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 2-8 Tennessee Titans, who have actually been having some pretty close games the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. They'll be playing the 7-4 Houston Texans, who they have a couple losses the last few games, but obviously they're getting Nico Collins back. He was leading the NFL in receiving yards when he went out. That is a massive pickup to get him back on this team. Take some pressure off Stroud. They lost Diggs for the season. You need Nico Collins. He's a game changer. Right now, the Texans come in here. They are 8.5-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5. Tennessee comes in. They're averaging 17 points a game, throwing for 178.4, running for 117. They're giving up 26.3 points a game, but they only give up 278 offensive yards per game, and yet still they give up 26 points a game. That's because the defense has been playing very well. It's the offense turning the ball over on their own side of the field, gives the opposing offense the short field, lets them punch it in, at least get a field goal. They need to play a clean game in order to have a chance here versus the Texans. Stroud, they're averaging 23.5 points a game. They're throwing for 221.5. They're running for 121.4, and they're giving up 21.5 points a game. They have the playmakers. Stroud, Mixon, Collins. How does Tennessee adapt? Can they play a clean game? No matter who gets the most reps at quarterback, Levis, Rudolph, Pollard having a strong season. They have Calvin Ridley, but they don't have enough weapons. But this is a game, if they play a clean game, they can easily steal this one from the Texans. You'll want to watch that, but I have Houston taking it, winning it 24-17. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What a season they were having before they lost Evans, before they lost Godwin. They'll be playing the 2-8 New York Giants. The big news is they're going to be benching Daniel Jones. He's a Band-Aid. You just got to rip it off. He's not your quarterback for the future. They'll be going with Tommy DeVito, who did light a spark under this offense this past season. Can he resurrect that this year? Right now, the Bucs, they have a 69.9% chance to win this game. They are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5. Tampa Bay, they were the leading passing team when their stars went down. Godwin leading the NFL in receptions. He goes down. He's out for the season. That's a massive loss. Evans should be coming back at some point. Once he comes back, this is a veteran, a experienced veteran, someone that Baker Mayfield can rely on to push the ball. Even without his stars, he's still averaging a lot of passing touchdowns, a lot of passing yards. They're still moving the ball back down, but they've lost a couple one-possession games. Evans can make the difference. Right now, Baker Mayfield has 2,600 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks. They're averaging 27.9 points a game. Still a top 5 offense in the NFL. They're throwing for 236.2, running for 125.3. Their defense gives up 26.4 points a game. They do give up a lot of points, but they can get in a shootout with you. And right now the Giants are averaging 15.6 points a game. They're throwing for 189.8, running for 119.9. Their defense gives up 22.2 points a game. The Giants, when their defense is on, they can keep them in the game, keep it as a one-possession game. When it's a one-possession game, you have the chance to win it if you have the ball last. And DeVito showed last season he can light a spark on this team, but is that going to carry over to this season? The Bucks have Irving, Mayfield, and the Giants have Tracy Jr. They have Neighbors, who is a legitimate wide receiver number 1, but you need a quarterback who can consistently feed him the ball. I have the Buccaneers getting back in the win column finally, winning this one 26-20. And then on CBS at 1 p.m., the 3-8 New England Patriots. Drake May has been playing pretty decent the last few weeks. He's been able to get the ball to his playmakers. Now, that's not making the Patriots world beaters, but it's showing some life on the offensive side. They'll be playing the 4-6 Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have a 67.3% chance to win this game. 7-point favorites. The over-under here is 46.5. The Dolphins' record, do not judge them by their record. They were without Tua, 4 games there? When they lost Tua, they were statistically the worst offense in the NFL. When they have Tua, just look back to last season, they're a top 5 offense, one of the deepest offensive rosters. but they need Tua. Tua, don't try to scramble for first downs. Don't try to tackle anyone. Don't do anything stupid. Play conservative with your help. Give the ball to the playmakers. Let them make the plays. Right now, the Patriots come in. They're averaging 16.5 points a game. They're throwing for 165.9. They're running for 115.3. Their defense gives up 22.5. The Dolphins' offense was down to 13 points a game, but now the Tua is back. It's starting to inch up. They're on a winning streak right now. We had them winning the last 2 games. They've won the last 2 games. They're chipping off at that record, slowly working their way back to 500, but they have to win this game. They're averaging 18.1, throwing for 197, running for 122. Their defense gives up 22.1 points a game. The Patriots, they have May, Stevenson, Henry. The Dolphins, they are deep. Tua, Achin, Mostert, Hill, Waddle, Berrios, Beckham. Multiple weapons, multiple ways they can beat you. Make sure you take these games game by game. If you win 2 more, you're back to 500, and then you have a potential shot to still try to make the playoffs. I had the Dolphins winning this one, going on a 3-game winning streak. They win it 28-20. Then our next matchup at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 6-5 Denver Broncos. What an offensive performance they had this past weekend. Props to Sean Payton. Props to Bo Nix. Don't forget, Bo Nix looked awful his first 2 games. Since then, Sean Payton is coaching him within his scheme. Short, dink and dunk, accurate passes. Give the ball to the playmakers. Roll the pocket out. Give him the option to be able to scramble for that first down, which then opens up the offense. They'll be playing the 2-8 Las Vegas Raiders. And let's just call the Raiders what they are, just an honest assessment. They're not good at necessarily anything. They're not good at offense. They're not good at defense. Right now, the Raiders are the underdog. The Broncos have a 55.2% chance to win this game, 5.5-point favorites. The over here is 41 points. Denver, they've gotten the offense rolling, and they still have a playoff caliber defense. They have a top 5 overall NFL defense. They're averaging 21.4 points a game. They're throwing for 196.5. They're running for 116. They're only giving up 16.6 points a game. That is a really good defense. And they have a chance to feast here playing a really bad Raiders offense, whether it's Minshew, O'Connell. They're having issues getting first downs, scoring, taking up some time of possession, keeping their defense off the field. They're only averaging 18.7. They're throwing for 209.8, running for 75.2. One of the worst rush offenses in the NFL, just behind the Cowboys. And they are giving up 28.5 points a game. One of the worst defenses in the NFL. Can Denver keep the offensive performance they've had going in this game? Right now for Denver, they have Bo Nix, Williams, Sutton. The Raiders, they have Gardner Minshew. To me, I would still roll with Minshew. He gives you the highest ceiling because at least he can throw the ball and try to get some touchdowns, but you might have to settle for some picks there. They have Madison. Brock Bowers having a great season so far. The Raiders are on a long losing streak right now. They are due for a win. I can see them stealing this one in a close game, but I'm going to go with Denver taking it. But I could see it going both ways. It's practically a 50-50 here. They're due to win one, but Denver wins 23-20. Then on Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 5-5 San Francisco 49ers. No matter what the San Francisco 49ers do, they can't seem to get away from being 500. When they go up 2, they drop 2 straight. They keep kind of sitting around 500. When they're healthy, this is the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL, but that's the main thing. When they're healthy. Right now, they're down Ayuk. They're potentially down Nick Bosa. That's a massive loss for the defense. They'll be playing the 7-3 Green Bay Packers. A really close win this past weekend. Props to them. They won it in crunch time when they had to win it. Packers have a 54.4% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over in here is 47.5. This game could potentially turn into a shootout easily. The 49ers still have a lot of weapons. They are loaded, and with Christian McCaffrey back, Purdy always plays better with McCaffrey. They're averaging 25 points a game, throwing for 251.1, running for 147.8, and their defense is giving up 22.2 points a game. But do not underestimate the loss of Nick Bosa here. And for Green Bay, they are averaging 25 points a game, throwing for 238.2, running for 149.9, and their defense is only giving up 21.3 points a game. I could see this game easily turning into a shootout. Could go down to the end of the fourth quarter, just like the Packers last game. Whoever has the ball last could potentially win this game. Looking at the playmakers for The 49ers, they have Purdy, Mason, McCaffrey. That's a very deep 1-2 running back punch. Jennings having a great season so far. They have Debo. They have Kittle if he's able to play. And for the Packers, they have Love, Jacobs, Reed. But Love is going to have to play a clean game. He has a lot of turnovers, but when he's on, he's on. Keep the turnovers down, and you can take this game, and you could put the 49ers one under 500. But I have the 49ers. They play 500 football this season. They lost this past weekend. I have them pulling the upset, winning this one 27-23. And then on Fox at 4:25 p.m., the 6-4 Arizona Cardinals. What a good season they're having. Props to them. Kyler Murray having a great season so far. They'll be playing the 5-5 Seattle Seahawks. Right now, the Cardinals, 53.7% chance to win this game, but it's the Seahawks who are the favorites. 1-point favorite over in here is 47.5 for the Cardinals. They're coming off the bye. They're fully rested. This is a Jekyll Hyde team. They play a great game, then they look like crap, then they play a great game, then they look like crap. Which version of the Cardinals shows up this weekend? That's the key. They're averaging 23.8 points a game. Kyler Murray, he has 2,100 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns. The guy can scramble. He can open the gameplay up because he can extend plays with his legs. They're throwing for 197. They're running for 149.4. They're only giving up 22 points a game, which isn't great, but a lot of their issues have stemmed around not being able to generate pass rush. On defense, they are better than they were last season, and they'll be playing Seattle. Geno Smith and company, when they're on, they can score, leading the NFL in passing offense, but with that comes a lot of bad games as well when they have a lot of turnovers. He has as many touchdowns as he has interceptions. They're averaging 23 points a game, throwing for 260.9, running for 91.5. They're giving up 23.8 points a game. For the Cardinals, when they have a healthy offense, Murray, Connor, McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., but Seattle, they have Walker, they have Smith, they have DK Metcalf. They have a lot of weapons there too, but which version of Geno Smith shows up? Do they force touchdowns or do they force picks? I have the Cardinals pulling the upset here. They're due to have a good performance from Kyler Murray. They win this one 28-24. In our second to last game, but our final Sunday night game on NBC at 8:20 p.m., the 8-2 Philadelphia Eagles, they are rolling right now versus the 5-5 LA Rams. Right now, the Eagles have a 59.7% chance to win this game. 3-point favorites over here is 49.5. Since the second half of last season, the Eagles' primary issue was their defense being Swiss cheese and their offense giving up a lot of turnovers. They had major turnover problems, but basically for the last, I'd say, 6 games, they've been playing turnover-free, clean football, which has enabled the defense to take a lot of pressure off them, and they're having a great defensive performance this season. They're running the ball. They are now the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. They just barely passed the Ravens. They're averaging 25.7. They're throwing for 198.6. They're running for 181.3 yards per game, almost 400 yards of offense. One of the best, if not the best, most consistent, well-rounded offensive group in the NFL, and they're only giving up 17.9 points a game. Great offense, great run game, great defense. That is a playoff caliber team. And right now the Rams, don't judge them by the record. A lot of that record, they were without Nakua, and they were without Kupp. When healthy, you have experienced veteran Stafford, Williams, Atwell, Cooper Kupp, Nakua. That's multiple weapons. That's an offense that can get into a shootout. If this game turns into a shootout, if the Eagles have some turnovers, the Rams can steal this one. They're averaging 21.3, throwing for 240.6, running for 95.4, and their defense does have some holes, giving up 23.9 points a game. But we went over that offensive roster. That's a deadly roster. If they're on, if they get some turnovers, they will turn those into points. For the Eagles, they have Hurts. They have Barkley closing in on 1,200 yards rushing. They have A.J. Brown, Smith. I have the Eagles just barely pulling this one out 24-21. This one does scare me, though, because I can see the Rams stealing this game just due to their healthy offense that they have going on right now. And then at 8:15 p.m. on ESPN, we have the 7-4 Baltimore Ravens coming off that loss to the Steelers versus the 7-3 Chargers coming off of that great win they had this past weekend. Right now, the Ravens have a 60.2% chance to win this game. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 50.5. But don't forget, this is Harbaugh Bowl. This is Jim versus John. Which Harbaugh's son is going to win this game? A crazy game. Will be a fun one to watch. And we're going to see 2 of the better NFL quarterbacks. Right now, the Ravens come in. Lamar Jackson putting up MVP caliber numbers this entire season, going for his 3rd MVP. But last week was a very shaky performance. I've been so high on him this whole season. It's not his fault what happened this past weekend, but Can they rebound, get that offense back on track? They're averaging 30.4 points a game. The number 2 offense still in the NFL. Throwing for 252.8, running for 177.3, just barely behind the Eagles for number 1 rush offense. And still, they're averaging about 450 yards of offense. They do give up 24.6 points a game. And statistically, the worst statistical secondary in the NFL. They give up 284.5 passing yards per game. Everyone can throw on the Ravens. There's going to be wide open guys the whole game. Their secondary is awful. But that defensive line, top 3 in the nation, only giving up 77.5 yards on the ground. You can throw on them, but you cannot run on them. Right now, the Chargers, they've gotten Justin Herbert going. This is a hardball type team. Run the ball, defense, special teams. They've been running. They've been playing elite defense. Statistically, the number 1 defense in the NFL, but they've been keeping Herbert at bay just because they haven't needed him to go for 350. He showed the last 2 games. If you need him to go for 3 to 350, he can do it on a dime. McConkey having a great season so far. They have a perfect connection. He's pushing the ball down the field, and the Ravens have a really bad secondary. That's kind of a recipe there for a little bit of a disaster. They're averaging 22 points a game, throwing for 204.8, running for 121.6, but it's that defense only giving up 14.5 points a game. Statistically better than the Steelers defense, which was able to control the Ravens. I'm not saying that that's going to happen this game. It's just the stats speaking for themselves. Right now for Baltimore, an extremely loaded offensive roster. This team is stacked, built for the playoffs. Jackson, Derrick Henry, 15 yards shy of 1,200. Zay Flowers, Andrews, likely. They have the quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They have 2 tight ends. For the Chargers, you have Justin Herbert closing in on 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. You have J.K. Dobbins, and you have McConkey, who's really stepped up the last 2 to 3 games. This game could go either way. Would not surprise me at all if the Ravens, who are favored, win it. I'm going to go a little out on a ledge here. I have the Chargers winning this one 24-20 based off of their defense controlling this game. But it's practically a 50-50 to me. I don't want to go anywhere near this game personally, but I'm going to go Chargers 24-20. So that's our breakdown. That's all of our picks and predictions for our Week 12 NFL matchups. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below and I will respond. Thank you.